Well, Jeff, it sounds like we got a new bold promise with facilities from the athletic department today. What was your reaction to reading all that stuff?
Well, I got to be in the head coach's meeting where she announced it to all of us first, and then we went to an all-staff meeting where she did that again, basically. But she's always in contact with me, as is President Amy, and so I've been knowing that there's always stuff going on behind the scenes, trying to get things done. Obviously, the basketball practice arena and the volleyball practice arena and the baseball and softball have been, priorities, for a while. But it's good to see that, the covered facility and nutrition center and some other things in there, because that's going to be, the next step. When we get all those things done, it'll be a fun 20 years here, getting to go to a bunch of rodeos, a bunch of fiesta, and watching Wemby win a bunch of championships. It'll be a nice little run here.
What are your thoughts and what have the conversations been like about potentially something different from the pavilion that's long been discussed, maybe even like a practice bubble? Has that been something that's been considered?
We've mentioned a lot of things, but like today I was just talking to Pat and Van, and I asked them, where do y'all practice when it's raining and it's sleeting and it's too cold? They don't have a place either. I mean, I know on our turf there's markings for the baseball out there and softball out there, so I just think with this commitment from our, all the parties that have committed to this, there'd be some, real opportunities to get that facility and whatever that looks like. Because I know it's tough. Like this morning, Ed Williams was blowing probably 40 miles an hour, and we wasted an hour out there today, So I know Pat's in his season and Van's in her season. It's just tough. And so that overhead would not just be just for football. I mean, immediately, cheerleading coach, she spoke up. She's like, hey, what about us? I'm like, yeah, I see her out there practicing too. That we all need places to, do that.
Coach, you're big in expanding UTSA's brand across the entire city of San Antonio. You guys play your games downtown at the Alamo Dome. I'm curious your thoughts on expanding UTSA's, both as a school and athletics, their brand into downtown San Antonio. A little bit more your thoughts.
Yeah, I know President Amy's worked really diligently on that. That's been a big, he spent a lot of time getting that done, and I know it's heading that way, and that's growing and exciting for that. And there's all kind of possibilities going on down there. And we partnered with those guys in the Alamo Dome. They've been nothing but great partners, and I still stand by there's not a better place. Are there things that are inconvenient? Of course, but it's still, to me, the pluses far outweigh the minuses, and I'm excited. I've told y'all since the day one, we want to be San Antonio's football team. We want to be to the city what the Spurs are in basketball, and we have a lot of respect for UIW and Trinity. That's in no way meant to be disrespectful. But that's our goals. Our university has become the football team of San Antonio. And we love the Brahmas too, so we don't want to leave them out.
Coach, spring ball, start of spring ball, it's the first one where you don't have a guy named Frank Harris on your roster. Just going in, looking at the quarterback room, how you feel about that, and then just what is the competition like? What are you looking forward to for those guys in that room going into the spring?
Yeah, I would say Owen and Eddie, you'll see them rotate with the ones, all spring. You'll have a 1A and a 1B. And I would say you would see Jackson and Brandon, competing for that third spot. And, our room number is 5. We have 5 scholarships put back for that room. And obviously we have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship. So we're in the market. I'd love to find me another Josh Atkins out there that's played a lot of football, that wants an opportunity to come in and compete for a starting job. But I'm not just going to take a quarterback, just to take one. I love media and I love recruiting sites. That's all a necessary part of the game. But I'm not going to win a battle to lose a war. I want to make sure it's somebody that can come in here and actually help our room, that also has the right mindset, culture. That guy's out there. And we thought we had 3, over the break. I'm honest with all of them. And I'm not saying this is why they didn't come. But I said, look, you go watch Eddie and you go watch Owen. There's nice game video. If you don't think you're better than them, don't come here. If you think you're better, jump on. So if there's somebody out there that looks at that and wants to come to a great city and play on a great team, come on. If not, we'll roll those forward.
What do Owen and Eddie need to focus on and show you through these practices?
Get their team in the end zone. I mean, you know, I've always said this is not complicated, man. If you get your team in the end zone and your team wins a lot, you're going to be my quarterback. And that's what Frank did, and that's why he was the quarterback. It might not have been the most beautiful thing in practice. When he was young, it probably didn't look so hot. But I know this, when he got behind there, the Roadrunners got in the end zone. However we got in there. Sometimes it's tip passes, sometimes it's double passes, sometimes it's sincere running a ton, but we got in there. And that's it. That's the only way I judge them, is who gets their team in the end zone the most. And however that is, I'm all in for that guy.
Are you comfortable with that battle between those guys spilling into next fall in the regular season, or are you wanting to find an answer before then?
I've even talked to both of them. Do we play them both in the first game? I mean, how far can we go with this? I think they're both that good. I think they're both really good football players. So I have no problem with that. We'll figure it out. It's never a bad thing when you got a bunch of good guys. And we feel really good about both those kids. And the two young guys, they've done nothing to deserve to be the starter yet, and they've done nothing bad enough to know we made a mistake on our evals. So we'll let those two battle that out down there and see how that comes out as well.
Jeff, how have the guys looked in the off-season workout? Like, what exactly have you guys been able to do, and just how have they looked?
Yeah, well, obviously the first 4 weeks is strength and nutrition, speed work, and then you get into more of kind of getting them ready for spring ball with mat drills, old school, dang near like boot camp.
Yeah.
And we take a lot of pride in that. I go watch these schools, and back in the '90s it was Converse Judson, and Coach Rutledge they were the master of boot camp, and I got to see Coach Hill and Smith and Valley's boot camp, and they do it really well. And I know my Buckeyes back in East Texas, they love the boot camp, and they're all about it. So I wouldn't say we were straight boot camp mentality, but we were darn near boot camp mentality. And we even went to some overtime in boot camp. There's nothing our kids did bad. They were great. I just wanted to see how we handled adversity. I wanted to see how they responded, because those road games next year are going to be really big for us. We've got to go get some games on the road next year. Obviously, you always got to take care of your home turf, but we feel very confident with our fans in the Alamo Dome and how we play at home. But we've got to go get some tough ones on the road next year. So I try to give them as much adversity as possible, and those kids didn't blink. They didn't blink. No BCD, no blaming, no complaining, no defending. We were getting after it, and that was yesterday. As a matter of fact, I forgot to tell them today that they were done. So they didn't even ask. I guess they're expected to go again tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we're going to get the ball out tomorrow and try to get ready for that Monday practice by getting a little bit of work tomorrow.
For the rest of the offense, what do you hope to see from them this spring?
Well, we lost two really good old linemen. My man T. Haynes has been around for a long time. Ernesto, a long time. Those guys started, for 4 years for me. And 4-year starters are hard to lose. You lost Frank, which has already been mentioned. We lost Josh Cephas, 4-year starter, who's doing really well, I will add. I'm very proud of Josh, happy for him. So we got to get all that ironed out. We brought in a bunch of offensive linemen at midterm. We brought in 2 really good receivers at midterm, and we have some really good ones coming back from last year. So what does that all look like? So that will be our biggest deal, is to identify an offensive identity. I would imagine it'll look similar to what y'all seen the last 4 years, but I do want to take everybody back. When Frank started, there was some growing pains. There was even some of y'all that were, over a cup of coffee, maybe some tea sometimes. You're like, you sure this is the guy? And I'm like, yeah, he's the one. He's going to be fine. We just got to grow him up and develop him. And I imagine there'll be a few of those conversations. Whenever you're playing a new quarterback, there's just a natural learning curve. And I hope all you guys are patient with whoever we decide to go with. Now, I will say our program is in a much better place right now than we were 4 years ago. I feel better about where we are. We've all been together a while. We got quite a few guys back on defense, quite a few guys back on offense. So I would expect us to be better as a team, but I would ask for some grace, on that quarterback there early.
Jeff, how are the newcomers looked? How have they adapted to, I guess, just the culture, and how do you expect them to hit the ground?
So far, so good, but I mean, everybody looks good in PJs. I mean, well, maybe not everybody. I don't look so good in PJs anymore, but your players
Yeah.
all look good in PJs. They're all long, they're powerful, they're fast, they're all the things we look for measurables. But like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan till you get hit in the mouth. So, the day the pads go on full and we, do a little more live, get after each other, I don't know that you'll really know. And as much as I like to say we keep it simple on offense, we do a lot of offense.
Yeah.
And so that's also unfair to all those offensive linemen and those receivers when you have as large a menu of offense as we have to judge them too quickly in the spring. So nowadays you can darn near practice football year round. So as soon as we're done with spring, we get summer workouts, and then you get fall camp. So this will just be part of the process.
How's Denver doing?
Been fantastic. He's been fantastic. Had a great attitude. He's working a corner today. Excited about Denver as we are about Zach, who's been fantastic as well. And then we're really excited about our young guys. I mean, we got Zay returning. We're expecting big things from Zay. But Davin has been really, really good, as has Dangerfield. I mean, Dangerfield got here at about 138, and he's over 160 now. So nutrition, strength, those things matter. And it allows you to go into a school like Dangerfield and take, a kid that weighs 138 pounds and know you can put a lot of weight on him. It allows you to take a Patrick Overmeyer who might have been undersized and you just pile weight on it. It allows you to take a Jonah Miller and just, you got to have the nutrition. That piece is huge nowadays, especially for a school like us that doesn't get to recruit the 6'6", 335-pounder from the jump street.
Do you expect to see new leaders emerge through the spring with Frank and Rashad moving on? How does that process play out?
Just like that, they'll emerge. Their jerseys ripped off of them. They're all back in there. I got that question yesterday from somebody on a podcast. It's like, how do you decide what number they go back in? And it's not that hard. Just when they got here, they go back to that number because they don't. There's only a few of them. There's no one left that started in a single digit. All those guys are gone. So Frank and Rashad obviously were in zero for all 4 years, but there's nobody else left. Liggins, goes back to 88. That's what he used to wear. So all those jerseys have been ripped off, and they'll, going through mat drills, and that's one of the reasons you do it, just to kind of see who. When you tell the team, too bad, we're not going to play football today. We're going to do mat drills again. Who has their lip out, who's the BCD guy, and who's the guy that says, oh no, we're not doing that. We're going to do mat drills. Let's go. So they'll emerge. That word is very appropriate.
Big picture, Coach. College football playoff expanding, to 12 teams. Does that maybe not change your program goals? Does it maybe, broaden your perspective as far as what end of the season your program could get to?
Hashtag GTS 12, right? Yeah, we think we're one of the 12. We don't make any bones about it. We know we're not being discussed. We know we're totally overlooked. We lost Frank Harris, right? We're shutting down football. Alamo Dome not even going to open up next year. It's over in UTSA. The Godson is gone, so we're done, right? We don't see it that way. We think we are one of those teams competing for that spot, and we don't hide from it.
And last year, you guys, obviously, you were trying to calm everybody down after that gauntlet non-conference schedule, but now this year, probably that changes maybe the non-conference, how you approach the non-conference a little more, thinking that the playoff has expanded, in the bigger picture.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this one, there's some things in there that are very interesting. Kennesaw, just because everybody hadn't heard about them, doesn't mean they're not good, right? Nobody used to hear about UTSA either. And so we open up with them. Well, why is that important? Well, you're getting your first game in. You got a new quarterback, right? You got a bunch of new people. And then you go, obviously, on the road to Texas State, which is a culture pillar violation already, because I'm already on game 2, right? So you already know, probably going to get my finger in a rat trap, week 1 again. Because it's a trap game. Because all of y'all are going to be talking about Texas State. And no one's going to be talking about Kennesaw but me. And that's dangerous. So, and then the big boogie bear is game 3. Got to go play the Horns. That's another story in itself, right? And that's another something for Greg and JJ to, mesmerize my kids over and not have them focused on Kennesaw. So there's a lot of stuff in there that's a little scary before you get to conference, obviously.
Jeff, I think the conference is going to release their schedule on Friday. Any idea what to expect, or just what are you looking forward to when that comes out?
I'd be lying. I'd have to give some. I can go Belichick and give some coach talk and say it doesn't matter, but it does matter. Like those games, like who do they play before they play you, and where are your byes, and those on the road games. How's the weather going to be affected? When are your games at home? Like Frank Harris's last game was on a Friday night, and we might have drawn 20,000. If that's on a Saturday, you're probably looking at 45,000. Like, how many Friday games do we have? How many Thursday games do we have? All those kind of things do matter. And when does your bye fall? And it is what it is. I'll go Belichick on you. It doesn't matter. I mean, you got to play them all anyway. But the order and the timing and weather, a lot of things are a factor there. But at the end of the day, let's go back to the culture pillars and trust the process, control the controllables, win the day.
Jeff, I wanted to go back to the facilities. I was reading Greg's story, and it seems like the university is picking up the bill for a lot of what they want to do in the future here. What does that say to have that commitment from the university?
Well, President Amy is, the moment we've gone to the AAC, he assured me that we were going to go on that thing and try to be competitive. And I still remember our conversations, and him. So I can get you like top half. And I'm like, hey now, top half. Is that the way my bonus is going to be triggered? And he died laughing. And he's done everything he can. Him and Ms. Veronica and Dr. Campos and our, everybody from the county to admin to our city to boosters. It's a work. It's a grind. It's heavy, but it's fun. And I mean this. In a decade, we're going to all look back, and Wimby's going to have a bunch of championships, and UTSA is going to really be rocking. We just got to get to winning in the next decade while all this stuff's going on to help pay for all these things.
Coach, going back to the topic of new guys emerging, are there any one or two guys that came over in the transfer portal or something like that maybe you could see could step into some of those roles maybe this spring?
Yeah, there are. I'd rather just not comment yet, just because they're in their pajamas still. And but I got a good hunch. We vote every day. Like every single day they're in the mat drills. We come in and we literally vote. It's like old school, like I count hands. And who do we think was fantastic today? And who do we think was just bad? And we total them up and we put them downstairs, and it's position group 1 through 5. Team rank 1 through 112, and if you're 112 and you're too soft and get the transfer portal, we'll see you when you see you, right? And I do think hindsight being 2020, I was so leery of that last year. I might not have been as tough on my guys as I needed to be. It kind of was a new world for all of us, and I just made my mind up. I'm gonna love them and treat them like my own children. And if they don't want to play for us, it is what it is. And we have lost 3 really good players in the last 2 years, but we picked up 15 really good ones. There's other ones out there, and I'm in no mean trying to get rid of my guys. I love them. I mean, I really do love them. But I promised them this year I wasn't going to coach that way. I was going to stay true to the triangle, where last year, we might have gotten mushed into a square or a circle a couple times, because I just didn't want to lose it by the transfer portal.
Jeff, on the other side of that, does spring change at all for you, just from the perspective of looking where you might want to add guys out of the transfer portal, given that there's so much more movement?
Yeah, no doubt. We've got 3 numbers right now, and I'm sure there'll be some guys take me up on what I just said. Like, you're right, Coach. I'm getting in, which will create more numbers. So we already know, and we've added Parker, who's oversees all that now. That's all Parker does. He just evals talent. He's looking all the time at people in our roster. Where in the past we've kind of double dipped on that. I might have had a title for somebody, but really and truly, we were all coaching football as hard as we could. And now we have somebody, we're hiring an on-campus recruiting coordinator. These are all new positions. Again, I'm very grateful. This is stuff that, like, when Harvey gives $1 million, or the Grehees give large money, or the boosters give, these are things that get to happen. This is why you get a nutrition center. This is why you get nutrition pieces, because of these added positions, right? So people that are giving, this is some things that are beneficial, but that's what he's going to be doing all the time. is evaluating, and I do too, and my coordinators do too. It's not like we don't, but we need to be focused on coaching football as much as we can be, and have somebody with eyes on the portal at all times, evaluating. And so we have these roster meetings. I think we need to add a linebacker for depth. We need to add a safety for depth. We need to add a couple of corners for depth. And then it's going to be best player available. A running back maybe, but we've got 4 really good ones, and a quarterback if they're out there.
Coach, I got a fun one for you to finish up.
Let's do it.
Your guys probably pretty excited. The NCAA football video game is going to be coming out. The Roadrunners in the game. Are you going to be picking up the sticks, playing it all?
I know I should say yes for recruiting, but I'm just, I'm still Mrs. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. Those are my games, so I think that'd be great. I'll have my young guys on top of that. I keep getting asked by my players though, like what rating do they think they'll have? So I guess there's some kind of rating of speed on those things. So I better figure it out, because I have a feeling recruiting's going to be coming down that way. I just hope there's no coaches' figures on the sideline. I hope it's just the players' figures only.
They do have coaching ratings also.
Oh no. Who gets to figure it out, Greg or JJ?
I think it's a combination. It's a
Oh
vote.
no.
They can scan you guys in there too.
I think they said they're not gonna do that though.
Not,
Praise
not
the
the first
Lord.
wave.
We
Not the
continue
first
our
wave.
coaches.
Praise the Lord.
Jeff, you mentioned the podcast. I heard you on one of them earlier today. Actually, you listen to podcasts. What are you listening to?
Yeah, I do. I'm just always searching for something, either spiritual, professional, or football. I mean, and when you say, well, you thought you said professional. Well, usually professional for me is a culture pillar. Like this week is pound the fist. So I've literally been everything I can. And I knew I was going to do the mat drills again. So I chose to go with adversity. Like today I gave the deal, and I know you've heard it a million times, and I got it from a podcast. It's actually from a sermon. You don't have a testimony until you pass the test first, which is the first 4 letters of the word testimony, obviously. So I'm always looking for, something to give my kids when I say professionally. Some podcast that talks about, like a scar. Like you gotta have a wound before you have a scar, and every scar is a story. And like every scar I have on my body, which I have a ton of them, because I was raised on a farm, there's a story behind each scar, from a 3rd degree motorcycle wreck to barbed wire to a fight where a guy beat my tail, and knee scars down there because I was pretty cheesy on the basketball court at times, from my brother rocking me in my eye, all kinds of things, but each scar is a story. So when I say professional, I mean literally that. So there's football for me, there's professional, and there's spiritual. So those are the podcasts I'm going to always be on. You got one out there, JJ?
No, I was looking for a recommendation. That's all I was asking.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those crazy
True
ones.
crime, nothing.
No,
not
mine are
that?
boring. I would bore you to tears. I'm not the guy to ask for. Like my daughter, shames me that I've never read. And I say never. That's going to be not factual, because I know my mother made me read a fiction book at least once in my life. I don't read fiction.
Yeah.
I'm only nonfiction, history, autobiographies, biographies. I'm reading that. He goes into me right now. Ryan Holiday. I never knew I was so egotistical. I really thought I was very humble, but just by me saying that lets you know I'm not humble.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm bragging on being humble.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate
So,
it.
y'all.
Thanks, Jeff.